As you guys probably already heard, Joe Biden had this, I don't know, what do you call it, the unity speech, unifying speech on Thursday night. And it was actually kind of flabbergasting just how arrogant and divisive the speech was. But I got this. Bring Joseph back home in here. And I want to start with the clip here. This is from Joe Biden's talk on unifying talk, whatever you want to call it, on Thursday night. Roll the clip.
Now, America must choose to move forward or to move backwards, to build a future or obsess about the past, to be a nation of hope and unity and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. But together we can choose a different path.
Joseph, I mean, obviously that was one clip from it, but one thing that has struck me, I think over the last couple of weeks, I've really started to notice this, is that the Democrats are working hard this election season to really malign Republicans in a way that they haven't done in the past. So they're trying to basically throw all Republicans in with January 6th. How are you taking what Biden is doing in his language? It's pretty divisive.
You know, it's super divisive, and good to see you, Gabe. You know, I think what's happening here is President Biden obviously is not really enthusiastic about kind of how the first 2 years have gone, right? By all measures, and this is left, right, middle. He's underwater when you pull all the issues: economy, inflation, the border crisis, immigration, national security issues. How are things going foreign affairs internationally? He's above water on nothing, which means his negatives are higher than his positives on basically every issue. So he can't go out and say, hey, look at what awesome stuff we've done. Let's just go do more, because nobody's excited about what the administration is doing. Right. So what the play has been, and this is exactly how they ran in 2020, was but Trump. And that's kind of the campaign that they're running. But this is a different tactic, because honestly, as I've observed this, I think one thing that's happening is threats to democracy are replacing racism. And what do I mean by that? The race card has been kind of the conventional historic smear. Every election cycle we run around, oh, Republicans are racist, Republicans are racist, Republicans are racist. I think what we're seeing is evidence that that's no longer sticking. And especially, and you're seeing, brown votes, the Hispanic community, the Black community, move to Republicans in fairly dramatic ways. And so this idea that Republicans are all racist is no longer working, because a lot of the Republicans aren't white. So I think what we're seeing happen is this pivot to Republicans are a threat to democracy. That's the new kind of boogeyman. And they are working very hard to convince the world that MAGA Republicans, and that term they've clearly focus grouped and decided that does not poll well. Americans don't like MAGA Republicans, whatever that means. And so they say it over and over and over and over again. And they are really trying to run on this idea that all Republicans are MAGA Republicans, and they are about to destroy the country.
What should Republicans' response be to this?
Well, I think you have to start talking about what's actually happening in the country. And the distraction is, and I think the challenge is, there are so many Republicans who are still so attached to Trump, they don't want to walk away from Trump. But I don't know that you have to walk away from Trump. You have to give yourselves, you do have to create a forward vision of what America should look like and can look like, and contrast that to what you're seeing with the Biden administration. And they don't want to talk about Biden. The Republicans should want to do nothing but talk about Biden, right? And the challenge is you have a media who desperately wants to see Democrats be elected, and they are going to give literally billions of dollars of unearned media to the Democrats' campaign message, which is MAGA Republicans are all a threat to democracy. So it's in reality, it's not a great argument, but it doesn't have to be, because there's nothing so absurd. If you say it often enough, people will believe it, right? Boys can become girls now, girls can become boys now. That's all because they hear it repeatedly. There's a significant percentage of America that's willing to agree with whatever they hear repeated.
What's your take on, so I was uh, I think the Republican establishment doesn't really like the MAGA Republican crowd. Um, and then I think the current kind of slate of candidates we have coming up in November, and some of them are pretty weak, and for some of those various reasons, for sure. But you got Mitch McConnell basically saying, "Yeah, we're probably not going to get the Senate." You got some of these like discouraging comments coming from establishment leadership, where it's like, okay, you're almost just willing to kind of give up now. And then you hear reports that out of Arizona that the Republican Party is pulling about $10 million of funding from helping the races in Arizona, where it almost seems like a little bit to me that the establishment doesn't want even the MAGA crowd around in some sense.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think there's an elitist element in both the right and the left. And I don't know if I'm in the MAGA crowd. I don't know if I'm not in the MAGA crowd. I think by most measures, I'm not. So I'm not like a defender of the MAGA crowd. But it is a blue collar community. It is kind of the disenfranchised, and within the establishment elitist Republican circles, there are certainly people who want to be above that. There's no doubt about it. And I think you're going to continue to see this hesitancy. We're seeing it on the abortion issue still, where now post-Roe, right, you're seeing Republicans not want to be honest about, there is no Republican position on the issue of abortion at this point, certainly not one that's unified. And the Democrats are framing the entire issue for the entire Republican Party, which is you're going to throw women in jail if they get an ectopic pregnancy. Yeah. That's the position that the Democrats are saying you have for abortion. Therefore, that's what they all want. So don't vote for those terrible people who want to throw women in prison if they get an ectopic pregnancy. And what the Republicans have to do is say, hey, here's what we're for. I mean, for a heartbeat bill, for a 15-week ban, here's what we're actually for. Because they're really the extremists on the abortion issue. The cases of rape and incest are difficult when you pull those things because they're such sympathetic and difficult situations. They're less than 1% of pregnancies, of course, but the rule is getting swallowed by the exception. And so if you don't want other people to define you, you have to define yourself for them. And on some of those critical issues, Republicans are afraid to do so because you still have that elitist element that doesn't want to be culture warriors, although everything President Biden did on Thursday night was a culture war.
I know, for real. All right, last take. What's your take on November? Do we get the House and the Senate?
That's a good question. Certainly. I mean, very.
I'll ask you in a month.
It would be shocking if the Republicans did not take over the House. It's difficult to see the scenario in which that doesn't happen. The Senate is much trickier. I mean, that's just the reality. You're going to look at a couple states in Arizona and Ohio starting to look better for Republicans. But it's not. Obviously the red wave that so many people were looking forward to. And that's in part because people aren't talking about Biden right now. And if we don't talk about Biden, that's good for Biden.
Joseph, thanks for your insight, man. That was really helpful. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.